Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
"Let me begin with the fate of Thorgan," he said, "because it is no longer in our hands." The room dimmed slightly, lights adjusting to match the ambient neural resonance of the Thorgan's presence. Asteros didn't seem to stand. He hovered, a few centimeters above the floor, as if the gravity of the ship found no hold on him. "You are familiar with the surface of our world, silent, ethereal, untouched by war. But beneath the beauty was order, and beneath that, balance. Our elders maintained that balance, 8 in total, each a living pillar of equilibrium between time, mind, and matter. We are not gods, General, but we were never meant to die by mortal hands." He paused. "Navax, once one of our own, a former elder, defied that order. He believed in control, expansion, influence beyond restraint. The others refused him, so he was cast into exile, a consensus exile. None of us believed he would survive." "But he did," Elias said quietly. "Yes," Asteros replied, "and after a millennia has passed by, he is still the same, only more dangerous." The Thorgan's eyes, pale, luminescent like galaxies caught in amber, shifted toward the hollow display. With a flick of his hand, it came alive. Not data, but memory. "That was Elder Ulasar," Asteros said, "oldest among us, wisest. Navax struck him down with a wave of his will, a violence so precise it bypassed flesh and mind." The image shifted, the body of the elder fading, unraveling into nothingness. "The others he did not kill," Asteros continued. "He bound them, a cathedral of light. 7 Thorgan elders, suspended in meditation above a violet energy core. Their minds were folded inward, compressed into a single crystalline node. The stone Navax now wears as his crown. A tether of power drawn directly from their collective energy. He uses it to dominate." Valen stepped forward. "Dominate who?" Asteros looked at him. "Everyone." He swept a hand, and the display changed again. Scenes of Thorgan cities now patrolled by hollow-eyed sentinels. Not destroyed, but silenced. Beneath the surface, the entire planet seemed to hum in unnatural rhythm. "He has corrupted the harmonic fields. Our people are trapped in an eternal echo, a distortion of their own minds. They obey him because they cannot think clearly enough to resist." Dr. Jackson spoke up. "Then why you? Why are you free?" "I was off-world," Asteros answered, "visiting worlds like Ishtar. The elders foresaw a divergence, a point in time where choice would fracture all outcomes. They sent me to observe, and to act, if it ever came to pass." Valen looked dubious. "And what does Navax want now? He already got his revenge against his own kind." Asteros turned his gaze toward the viewport, toward the distant stars. "He wants what he always wanted: subjugation without war, order without question, anything and everything under his control. The Council was his first step. Humanity is the second. He doesn't fear your power. He fears your nature. You are unbound. Where other species evolved to adapt, you evolved to resist. It makes you inconvenient, to say the least." "He sees us as a threat," Daniel murmured to himself. Asteros nodded. "He sees you as the fulcrum, the species through which fate tilts." Elias shifted his posture. "Why are you helping us?" The Thorgan's expression shifted slightly. Not sadness, not hope, but something older. Resignation. "Because balance must return. Because I am the last who remembers what we were meant to be. And because if humanity falls, Navax will rewrite the future in his image, and none of us will remember how to be free." No one spoke for a minute. Valen's voice was calm, but iron under the surface. "Then what do we do?" Asteros turned back to him. We begin by freeing the bound. The crystal that powers Navax's control must be severed, not destroyed, but disentangled. That means finding resonance equal to what binds it, a frequency strong enough to restore the Elder's will. And where the hell are we supposed to find that? Valen asked. The Thorgan answered, looking at 3. In one of your own. The one you call TH3. He carries something unshaped. Potential. Elias's eyes narrowed. You mean his pattern drift? Asteros' voice was quiet now. I mean his soul. The equilibrium is being restored, and the Duntrum inside him is the cause. That's why he has the potential to free the Thorgan Elders. Silence followed the word. Soul. A term long stripped from the language of warfare. In the lab where Theta Black was born, such things had no category, no value, just circuitry, reflex, and outcome. Valen stood with his arms folded tight across his chest, jaw clenched. I don't believe in fate, he said at last. I believe in will, in decision. We don't walk the path written for us. We make the damn path. Asteros regarded him, still and composed, not distant, not smug. His eyes held something else. Recognition. You are correct, the being said softly. But the existence of choice does not negate the existence of pattern. Free will does not erase the landscape. You possess the will to defy the current. You can choose where to step. You can choose who to save. But you cannot change where the river flows. Valen's gaze narrowed. Meaning? Asteros turned his hands palm up, forming a gesture of duality, one hand glowing with cool blue, the other with a soft, muted gold. There are timelines, outcomes, woven through the multi-thread of reality. Some are soft, easily bent. Some are anchored, fixed points. You may arrive there by different roads, but arrive you shall. His eyes met Valen's, unblinking. Free will exists, Asteros said, but so does structure. In this reality, this version of the thread, the outcome is set. Not because you are powerless, but because certain events must occur to preserve the greater balance. The room fell quiet, the weight of inevitability threading through the air like pressure. Valen's voice sharpened. So you're saying we're damned either way? No, Asteros said. I am saying that this moment, this timeline, is the one in which humanity can choose to defy what has already been written. You may always choose another path. That is the paradox. You cannot change what must happen here, but you can leave, take another thread, another timeline, and bear whatever that variation brings. Daniel blinked. So, we don't escape fate. We only exchange it. Exactly, Asteros said. The price is always there, but the shape of it is yours to choose. Dr. Jackson stepped forward, his voice thoughtful. You're saying, we're the anomaly. Asteros nodded. You are the equation that breaks the symmetry, the ones who are not supposed to still be here, and that makes you dangerous. And necessary. Valen sighed. The room felt heavier. Necessary or not, he said, we don't have a way to reach Thorgan space without getting vaporized. Asteros turned slightly. You won't go through. You'll go beneath. There are harmonic folds, ancient resonance gates beneath the crust of uninhabited systems, forgotten by most, still functional. Where? Elias asked. Vorkalan system, the third moon of Haldron Prime. There is a gate beneath its polar shell, hidden in ice. You will need stealth. And a key. A key? Valen asked. Asteros looked at Elias. You've already begun to forge it. Elias blinked. The Duntrum alloy. Asteros gave the faintest nod. Its resonance will unlock the path, and awaken the one who must walk it. I will give you what remains of the Duntrum, he said. Enough to stabilize the others. To bring them back, not just as weapons, but as what they could have been. Elias blinked, stepping forward. You have that much? I am that much, Astheros said. My body, in this form, is Duntram given resonance and form. I am the last source untouched by the distortion. But once I release it, he looked toward Valen. What you call life will end. Valen stared at him, unreadable. You're sacrificing yourself. It is not a sacrifice, Astheros said. It is an exchange, and every change requires a price. We are always in balance. Daniel spoke again, cautiously. If there are variants, timelines, different threads, how can you know this is the one where your death is required? Astheros nodded once. Because this is the one where Navax feeds first. Silence dropped like a weight. He continued. He comes to you, to humans, not because you are weakest, but because you are unresolved. Your frequency, and forgive the term general, is still fragmented, unsettled, wild. You exist in a raw, primal harmonic, unfinished. He feeds from that chaos. It makes him stronger. That is his power. Elias's voice was a near whisper. And yours? I exist in resonance, Astheros said. Clarity. Alignment. That cannot feed him, only disrupt him. That is why he destroyed one elder. That is why the others are frozen, suspended between death and breath. He cannot drain from what he cannot influence, but he fears me, because I can sever the bond. Valen's fists tightened at his sides. And you're just going to let him have the galaxy? We take your metal and you die, and that's it? Astheros looked at him, calmly, not angry, not yielding. No, he said, you take the key. I break the chain. You decide what happens after. He paused. And don't carry guilt, General. It is not your burden. In other timelines, this ends differently. But we are in the one where this is the price, where I am the one who must give. Elias stepped forward, his voice barely above a breath. And the THETA? He asked. What happens to them? Once you release it? Astheros turned to him with a soft nod. They can be healed. I will give you the instructions, a resonance sequence, encoded in harmonic frequencies. Their memories will return, not fragments, not broken loops. Continuity. Valen's eyes sharpened. You mean implanting new memories? Astheros didn't blink. Not implanted, not false. There is a variant of this reality where they were never stripped of their humanity, where they were enhanced, yes, but never broken, never silenced. That resonance still exists. It echoes through them. They will remember. Another life. They will feel it, Astheros corrected. Enough to restore the balance inside them. Enough to choose. You built monsters who followed. Now they will decide what they become. Daniel's eyes lit with a scholar's wonder. You have access to those timelines? All of them? I am them, Astheros said simply. I am what remains when possibility folds inward, when all paths are known, but only one can be walked. Valen took a slow step forward, jaw tightening. Then why didn't you fix this earlier? He asked. If you could see it coming, if there were other versions where it didn't lead here. His voice broke just slightly, then steadied again. Years of battlefield scars made it more edge than emotion. What kind of gods are you, exactly, that let it get this far? Silence fell. The tension was not anger, but weariness. Valen had fought too many wars, seen too many die, and when diplomacy failed, he had done what no one else had the will to do. He wasn't asking for peace, but he deserved an answer. Astheros looked at him with quiet gravity. I understand your frustration, General. You see the world as men must, in lines, in battles, in failures and victories. But I see what you cannot. Not because you are lesser, but because you are finite. He stepped closer, his outline almost glowing. You see a crack in the glass and call it tragedy. I see the pattern in the shatter. I see what forms after. Every path has its price, but sometimes the fracture is the point. Valen didn't move. Asteros bowed his head, just slightly, not an apology, but respect. You chose to stand in the fire so others didn't have to. This is why it had to be you. Daniel exhaled slowly. So they're not just weapons anymore. They're echoes of what they could have been. Of what they still can be, Asteros said. They all need to pass through the same process that 3 did. Elias was silent, but his gaze flicked briefly toward Teach 3, standing just outside the chamber, calm and still, but listening. Asteros glanced at him too. He is already halfway there. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Valen exhaled sharply and turned toward Elias. Prep the Theta base. Quietly. They moved to Elias's lab, which was sealed off. No other personnel allowed. Asteros stood in the center. The others ringed him. Valen, arms folded, watchful. Elias, quiet but pale. Daniel Jackson, alert with the stillness of a scholar, who knew something profound was about to happen. TH3 stood back, not speaking, not even breathing, it seemed. The other Theta units standing still as statues in cryogenic sink pods. Sleeping monsters. Soldiers without memories. Asteros turned to Elias. You've studied resonance, he said, but you've never seen the source. Come here. Elias stepped forward, his eyes wide as Asteros extended a translucent hand. You must feel it. Not analyze it. Not test it. Feel it. The air between them thickened. Elias flinched slightly. The sensation wasn't physical, but something deeper. A presence that pressed against his thoughts. A golden shimmer emerged around Asteros' outstretched palm. Not heat, not light. Something older. Matter not created, but remembered. It pulsed once, then twice, as it coalesced into a single shimmering node. Then more appeared, slow, drawn from the void, spiraling like strands of DNA folding into something solid. Within seconds, a sphere of pure Duntrum hovered before them, pulsing like a quiet heart. Elias whispered, You manifested it? I remembered it into form, Asteros replied. The universe doesn't forget what belongs. It only waits for the right vibration. He closed his hand. The Duntrum condensed into a dense, crystalline core. You will replicate it. Not through mining. Through resonance imprinting. I will teach you the pattern. Asteros reached out and gently touched the center of Elias's forehead. A whisper of contact, but something deeper passed between them. Elias took the core with reverent hands, feeling his eyes prickling. You never stopped searching for a cure, Asteros said gently. Not in 20 years. Because of 9. Even when you believed that turning him back into a weapon was the only mercy left. Elias looked down. I truly believed that if I could make him a tool again, I could spare him the pain. I didn't see I was preserving the wound, not healing it. You were not wrong, Asteros said. You were necessary. But the man who made the Theta is not the man standing here now. And that difference is enough to birth a new future. He turned now, facing Valen. You acted as gods, General, Asteros said. You created beings of metal and flesh, stripped of will, of history. You buried humanity beneath protocol. But humanity is not something that can be erased. It returns. Always. That's why TH3 is changing, Daniel murmured. And why TH9 human side is still alive, Asteros confirmed. Even in stasis, something within him resists, crawling back toward the surface. Valen stayed silent, not denying it, just absorbing. Let's begin the process, shall we? He simply waved a single hand over Elias's console, and all the necessary data appeared. Every formula, every calibration, every biosignature the alloy required to harmonize with the THETA nervous system. "It's like I've always known this," Elias whispered. "You have," Astheros said quietly. "You just needed someone to remember it for you." "To save the THETA," Astheros continued, "you will follow my instructions. Restore what was forgotten. The memories will come, not as fantasy, but resonance. Echoes from the branch where they were never broken, where they chose to fight." Astheros did not speak as Elias prepared the injection. He simply watched, silent, composed, while Elias adjusted the containment sleeve housing the Duntram alloy. The crystalline serum shimmered like captured starlight. The first was TH3. He had been chosen because he had already begun to change. The transformation had started long before his exposure to the Child Stone. The Duntram would not create a soul. It would align it. "Vitals steady," Elias murmured, locking the injector into the neural interface at the base of 3's neck, preparing transduction. The serum entered 3's spine. His body jolted, once. Then stillness. Elias checked the readouts. "He's gone into metabolic hibernation. It'll take 24 hours. Astheros nodded. "Let him sleep. When he wakes, he'll remember." Daniel Jackson stepped forward. "I still have a question." Astheros paused. "You appeared on the Harrow without a ship. No scan, no breach. How?" Astheros smiled softly. "Time and space have no hold on me, Dr. Jackson, and I've been here all along." Valen's eyebrow arched. "How so?" Astheros raised his hand and showed the stone the child on Lunvel had given Valen. In it, the stone, the same one Elias had used to extract the first trace of Duntram. It still held a whisper of the element. "Even a dying echo is enough," Astheros said. "A memory can still guide." He turned back toward the center of the room, and his form began to fade. Not into light, not into energy, but into absence. Astheros drew in a breath. Silent, weightless. "Farewell, humans," his voice echoed, almost inside them now. "The rest is yours." No sound, no flash, and then he was gone. Silence filled the chamber, sacred, vast, complete. Elias stood unmoving, looking at the place where Ashteros stood. And Valen whispered, "Now we fight a war, with something more than weapons." 24 hours later, TH3 woke up. His eyes opened in silence. No alarms, no machine prompts. He just woke. And something was different. He stood, slowly, as Elias ran the scans again and again. Heartbeat, normal. Neural activity, elevated but balanced. Cortisol levels, human. Not weapon grade. Not trauma-hardened. Just human. "Vitals are clean," Elias confirmed, awed. "No instability. No pattern drift. He's centered." 3 stood quietly, looking at his own hands as if seeing them for the first time. "How do you feel, 3? "I feel strange, Doctor. Like someone that woke up from a bad dream." Elias nodded and glanced toward the next pod. TH9 was next. Another injection. Another moment of silence. 9's eyes opened, sharp, alert, unsure. He looked around, rising from the pod with mechanical reflexes, but his gaze flicked quickly to the figure in front of him. Dr. Elias Raukes. "What you remember, 9?" he asked. 9 said softly, "I remember the cold. I remember the silence. I remember being a blade." He looked at Elias. "But I'm not just the blade anymore. I think I'm someone who deserves to ask that now, Doctor." Elias's eyes stung with tears. Those were his own words, the last thing he'd said to 9 before stasis. And now, 9 was giving them back. Then 9 noticed another theta. TH3. "Welcome back, brother," 3 said simply, offering a quiet shoulder bump. The contact was light, playful. But 9 froze. 3? He blinked. His voice was different now. Less protocol. More presence. What is this? What's going on? TH9 looked again at TH3. Really looked. You remember me? 3 nodded once. I remember enough. There was a long pause. Then 3 said softly, You're back. 9 blinked. Then he nodded. So are you. With the Thetas waking, the world began to stir. The weeks that followed were not idle ones. Across every sector still listening to Earth signals, General Adric Valen's voice echoed in encrypted bands, calling on allies, pleading with old accords, invoking debts long buried beneath years of diplomacy. But fear answered more often than loyalty. Navax's presence had fractured everything. Entire civilizations, once allied with Earth, responded in silence. Some redirected their trade routes. Others sent neutral statements of regret, acknowledging Earth's bravery, but offering nothing in return. So be it. Valen stopped asking. He fortified what he could, relocated what he couldn't. Civilian colonies across vulnerable sectors were moved, hidden, or hardened. One such colony, Halvor 6, was evacuated under THETA escort. 24 hours later, core warships descended, glassed the surface, and left no biosignatures behind. Just scorched rock and a broadcast, You cannot run forever. The message went unanswered, because Valen wasn't running. His goal was simple, ruthless. Strike the Galactic Council core, topple the core installation, capture, not kill, what remained of the High Table, and from its ashes, rebuild. If Earth stood alone, then it would stand loud, and if the galaxy needed a reason to believe again, it would start here, with blood, fire, and a signal the stars couldn't ignore. He left from Harrow with his battle group and 4 active THETA, TH3, TH9, TH10, and TH11. Elias stayed behind, continuing the reawakening process for the remaining THETA units, a task that now carried sacred weight. Daniel Jackson remained with him. The language of change was being written molecule by molecule, and he wasn't going to miss a single syllable. When Odin dropped from FTL, the Council planet loomed in the dark, no longer a symbol of unity, but a fortress. Dozens of core ships in orbit, defensive rings active, no hails, no diplomacy, just weapons. Status? Valen asked from the command deck. Shields holding. Enemy formation is shifting. They're adjusting to our vector. Split them! Orders rippled. Odin's escort vessels, smaller, faster, broke formation and peeled off, drawing core fire. Valen used the distraction to thread the dreadnought directly toward the orbital gate. On his mark, Odin fired. Railguns, magnetic titans, let loose, their rounds piercing shields, armor, and bone. One core destroyer folded like it had never existed. Another spun into its neighbor, dragging both into debris. Counterfire laced across Odin's flank, concentrated plasma beams. Shield capacity dropped by 13%. Valen didn't flinch. Target Ratan's flagship, he said. She's mid-cluster, protected. I know. The dreadnought's belly opened, a gate of fire, and the drop pods launched. The THETA hit the surface like divine wrath. No broadcasts, no threat assessments, just movement. TH3 cleared the perimeter in 24 seconds, silent, precise. 9 followed, slower but more brutal, disabling turrets with bare hands and repurposing broken core rifles as melee weapons. 10 and 11 flanked opposite sides of the Citadel's perimeter. Zero communication. Perfect sync. Inside, Council guards attempted to regroup. They didn't last long. 9 breached the central hall and neutralized 6 hostiles in under 10 seconds, only pausing when 3 appeared beside him, visor cracked but upright. "Keep moving," 3 said. 9 gave a nod. "Missed this." "Welcome back." By the time Valen touched down, the sky was clear. Core ships had broken under Odin's second wave, their formation lost. Ratan's flagship had been spared, not by failure, but by intent. Valen wanted him alive. He walked the shattered council floor, boots echoing on obsidian tile. At the top of the dais, flanked by fallen banners, Ratan Mar stood, wrists bound, watching him. "This won't change the outcome," Ratan rasped. "Navax will come." "Let him," Valen replied. He turned to the THETA surrounding them and gave a small nod, a quiet gesture of acknowledgement. Then he activated his comms. The signal went out, clean, public, untampered. The THETA stood behind him, silent, waiting. Not weapons, witnesses. "This is General Adric Valen of Earth. The Galactic Council is liberated. Ratan Mar is in custody. To any species still willing to fight for their own future, we welcome you. The war is here, but so are we." The tide had turned. With the Galactic Council reclaimed and Ratan Mar imprisoned, the signal of resistance had begun to spread. Slowly at first. Cautious messages, encoded transmissions, ancient allies emerging from silence. Some species answered, some turned away. Most remained hidden, afraid. But the smallest shift of power had been enough. One strong hand at the center of the storm had given others a reason to believe. It was time. Valen had his plan. The Odin would lead the attack from above, drawing attention, holding the orbit. The Allied ships, newfound friends from across the broken remnants of the Council, would engage Navax's loyalists, core forces still clinging to the promise of survival. And beneath that chaos, the THETA would descend. TH3, TH9, TH10, TH11. 4 soldiers. 4 weapons that had once been stripped of their humanity. Now, reawakened. Not monsters, not tools. Just men. Changed. Chosen. The plan was risky. A direct assault on the Thorgan homeworld would be suicide. The planet's orbital defenses alone were built to repel fleets. Not just from outside, but from every known direction. No ship would reach its surface without being torn apart. But they wouldn't go through. They would go beneath. Asteros' instructions were clear. Hidden deep beneath the crust of Haldron Prime's third moon, in the Vorkalen system, lay an ancient harmonic fold, a resonance gate from a time before memory. Forgotten, buried in ice. Still functional. It would take stealth, precision, and a key. That key, forged by Elias Raucus from the Duntram alloy, had finally been completed. A handheld disruptor, tuned to the specific frequency of Thorgan power fields, designed not to kill, but to unbind. On Valen's order, the fleet launched. The Odin led the charge toward Thorgan orbit, accompanied by a coalition of defected warships, human, allied, and unaffiliated, ready to carve a path through the void. Hours later, the Odin surged through FTL space, her engines humming a song that vibrated with purpose. As the stars snapped back into view, the Thorgan homeworld filled the forward screen, vast, obsidian-hued, veined with light that pulsed from deep within, and orbiting it like a crown, the Loyalist fleet, core, Thorgan, mercenary bands from dead empires. "Status?" Valen asked, not moving. "Shields are charged. We have 22 ships on our side, 36 ahead. They've seen us." "No hail?" "No, sir." "Didn't think so." He gave one nod. "Begin." The Odin surged forward. The Allied fleet split wide, like a bird of prey opening its wings. Plasma streaked from bow turrets, slicing clean through one of the Vanguard interceptors before its systems had time to react. Return fire screamed across the void. A dozen beams struck Odin's forward shields, but they held. Inside, Beneath layers of armor and silence, the drop pods released. 4. They rocketed toward the moon. No signals, no guidance. Just encoded resonance pulses, matching the ancient key's frequency. The ice parted like silk before them, and the pods vanished into the fold. Valen didn't watch them go. He was already giving the next order. Crush the gate cannons. Give them time. As the Odin rose, the rest of the galaxy trembled. While Valen fought above, the Theta descended below. 3, 9, 10, 11. Their mission: reach the inner sanctum and break the stasis field that held the 7 remaining elders, the source of Navax's stolen strength. Beneath Thorgan, in the dark chamber of the gate, the Theta emerged. It was a tunnel of stone, not carved, but grown, built by frequency. Their visors adjusted automatically, revealing organic walls that shimmered faintly with threads of silver. The gravity was strange, unpredictable. Sound didn't echo. It bent. They moved in complete silence. Sentries came first. Not soldiers, constructs, animated by Navax's fractured will. Their forms were fluid, half light, half matter, but they weren't fast enough. 3 led the charge, cutting through them with a spear of energy pulsing from his gauntlet. 9 followed, smashing through walls and dragging 2 sentries into the energy vents before they could face. 10 was precise, clinical. 11, sharp and tactical, held the rear guard. The deeper they went, the more the tunnels warped. Gravity bent in waves. Light curved around corners that had no edges. The air grew thick with frequency, not pressure. It wasn't suffocating. It was harmonic. A slow, unrelenting hum just beneath perception, like the dying breath of a star held in a bottle. Then came the corridor collapse, a shift in the structure, a trap. The walls shivered. 6 constructs emerged from behind light itself. TH-11 shoved the others forward. Go! 3 turned, hesitant. We can take them. No time. 11 locked eyes with him. Let me do this. 3 nodded once, then ran. The last thing he heard before the corridor collapsed behind them was the sound of metal tearing, and then silence. They breached the sanctum 4 minutes later, and emerged into a chamber unlike anything the human mind was meant to process. Vast but claustrophobic. Lit but cast in shadow. The elders hovered at the center, their silhouettes bound in arcs of twisted energy, their forms flickering between shape and vibration. 3 stepped forward, placed the disruptor at the field's base, and keyed the sequence Elias had programmed. The room dimmed, then burned. White gold light tore across the field. The cage shattered like glass. The elders dropped, caught mid-fall by waves of returning brilliance. Far above, everything changed. In orbit, Valen watched as Thorgan's defenses winked out. Ships that had moments ago been firing fell into confusion, some halting mid-burst, others drifting listlessly. The pulse that had held them together was gone. Navax's power severed. Valen stood on the Odin's bridge, gaze hard. Visual on the rogue? He asked. No, sir, the officer at the terminal said slowly. We had him. His form was visible on the surface, outside the sanctum. But what? He vanished. Later, the elders stood with Valen and Elias in the chamber of stillness. Their forms radiated light, though their expressions were solemn. Our time in this galaxy is over, one said. To protect its future, we must disappear. But before we do, another added, we leave behind what was once used against you. From the floor, where Navax had once stood, lay the medallion, cracked, humming softly. It was no longer a weapon. It was potential. A fragment of what was taken, the elder said, useless to us now, but more than enough for you. Valen took the medallion. Elias would later discover its nature. Pure Duntram essence, condensed. Enough to power shields that couldn't be breached. enough to forge enhancements for the THETA, and perhaps for more. The galaxy was at peace, and humanity had entered the next phase of its evolution, not because of what it had destroyed, but because of what it chose to become.
Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's worth a look. Oh, and one last thing. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here. Or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.